Prepare for unforeseen consequences. Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine. Not that I wish to imply you have been sleeping on the job. No one is more deserving of a rest, and all the effort in the world would have gone to waste until... Well, let's just say your hour has come again. The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and smell the ashes.
In the line.
Welcome to City 17. You have chosen, or been chosen, to relocate to one of our finest remaining urban centers. I thought so much of City 17 that I elected to establish my administration here, in the citadel so thoughtfully provided by our benefactors.
Gordon Freeman is awakened. After the events of Black Mesa, Gordon was given two choices by the G-Man: accept the job offer from him and his employers, or accept the consequences. When Gordon accepted the offer, the G-Man placed him into stasis until he was needed again. 2 decades of slumber until now. Gordon has been summoned. However, the world has changed, morphed into something else. While this is still technically Earth, this is not the same planet that he grew up in. Earth has been morphed, twisted, and disfigured into an unrecognizable mass. Gordon must probably feel an overwhelming sense of confusion. He's suddenly been placed into an unfamiliar environment, something that, ironically enough, he's all too familiar with. The station that he got off at is riddled with something that resemble policemen, but are not actually policemen. They're probably human, but he's not actually sure. Equipped with modified gas masks and weaponry, they seem to be treating civilians with cruelty.
But this stuff, it's all I have left. Alright, I'm moving, jeez.
Not only that, but the current technology seems to be unfamiliar to humans. It's of alien design. The architecture itself has been touched by the extraterrestrial hand. Cameras, drones, weapons, and outfits that are all far more advanced than what humanity was capable of 20 years ago. After Gordon has been awakened, the first thing he witnesses is a massive screen which is showing a man spewing propaganda onto the citizens. A man referred to as Dr. Breen.
Dr. Breen again? I was hoping I'd seen the last of him in City 14. I wouldn't say that too loud. This is his base of operations.
I thought
When Gordon speaks to the people at the station, they're all clearly distressed and suffering.
Whether you are here to stay or
Don't drink the water. They put something in it to make you forget. I don't even remember how I got here.
it's safer.
You never see them go. They're always full. No one ever gets on, but they're always... They never leave. I see they took your suitcase too. They can't get away with this much longer. I'm working up the nerve to go on.
Corruption runs rampant amongst civil protection units. They're taking advantage of their position. The checkpoint at the station has citizens that are too scared to enter. These citizens are being transported into Nova Prospect, an abandoned prison that was changed and transformed into a place of pure horror and dread, where citizens that are considered to be dangerous are placed in, dubbed anti-citizens. Gordon gets stopped at a checkpoint just before entering Nova Prospect.
Passing through on your way to parts unknown. Welcome to City 17. It's safer here.
This must be a mistake. I got a standard relocation coupon just like everybody else.
About that beer I owed you. It's me, Gordon, Barney from Black Mesa. Hey, sorry for the scare. I had to put on a show for the cameras. I've been working undercover with civil protection. I can't take too long or they'll get suspicious. I'm way behind on my beating quota.
Yes, Barney, what is it? I'm in the middle of a critical test.
Sorry, Doc, but look who's here.
Great Scott! Gordon Freeman! I expected more warning.
Yeah, you and me both, Doc. He was about to board the express to Nova Prospect.
Well, Barney, what do you intend?
I'm thinking.
Alex is around here, somewhere. She would have a better idea how to get him here.
Well, as long as he stays away from checkpoints, we should be okay. Listen, I gotta go, Doc. We're taking enough chances as it is.
Very well. And, Gordon, good to see you.
Okay, Gordon. You're gonna have to make your own way to Dr. Kleiner's lab. Oh, man, that's what I was afraid of. Get in here, Gordon, before you blow my cover. Keep going till you're in the plaza. I'll meet up with you later.
Barney and Dr. Kleiner both worked with Gordon before the Black Mesa incident. Barney was one of many security guards who kept order, and Kleiner was a fellow scientist, along with another scientist named Dr. Eli Vance. It seems that for the past 2 decades, they've been building up forces to fight back against whoever civil protection works for.
Let me read the letter we received. Dear Dr. Green, why has the seemed to support a reproductive cycle? Sincerely, a concerned citizen. Thank you for writing, concerned.
With just 4 words, the pure corruption within civil protection is shown to Gordon. The officer even laughs at him after he puts the can back in the bin, because he knows that he has power over him. Gordon is unarmed and cannot do anything about it. Their gas masks have built-in radio communication devices that distort their voices, making them seem less human. The officer's voice makes him sound almost demonic. Gordon is no longer having a conversation with another person. He's obeying the orders of someone who's merely a twisted imitation of a human. This interaction places the idea of physics into Gordon's mind from an early point. He did specialize in theoretical physics, after all. This just simply reinforces that everything he sees around him is interactable. This officer is but a single contributing factor of a much larger problem. He's part of a much larger runt. Not only that, but he's also a massive nuisance.
Do our benefactors really know what's best for us? What gives them the right to make this kind of decision for mankind? Will they ever deactivate the suppression field and let us breed again? Allow me to address the anxieties underlying your concerns.
The police state has become the police globe, an entire celestial body dedicated to the enslavement, entrapment, and control of every human of every country. All of this is orchestrated by the unstoppable force known as the Combine. The Combine is the collective combination of an innumerable number of life forms across an impossible number of universes. They have but one singular purpose in mind: to enslave all the multiverse and beyond for the purpose of harvesting the resources. After the events of Black Mesa and the death of the Nyland at the hands of Gordon Freeman, portals started to appear all over Earth. Various species of creatures from the board world, Zen, started invading. The Combine used the portals to gain access to Earth. After their arrival, it took around 7 hours for them to conquer the planet. It took slightly less than a full working day for the Combine to take over the entirety of Earth. Every plant, every patch of grass, and every single animal that walks the Earth was taken over in a war that lasted a measly 7 hours. From there, the Combine set up the most advanced totalitarian regime that humanity would ever witness. Breen, the former administrator of the Black Mesa facility, was appointed by the Combine and has supposedly become the ruler of Earth. But, in reality, they're just simply a propaganda mouthpiece, being formed into the perfect puppet for the Combine. Wallace Breen is watching you. Wallace Breen was the one who actually negotiated the terms of surrender on behalf of Earth's population. He's the face that citizens have to look at every day. Partly because of this, a lot of civilians have been blaming Dr. Breen for everything that's been happening. And Gordon makes out further into the region and witnesses firsthand one of the many methods the Combine used to maintain their totalitarianism: raids. You could be living your life semi-peacefully, albeit in constant paranoia, and suddenly, one day, without any warning, civil protection will knock your door down. Technically, it wouldn't even be your door. Most people aren't allowed to own property, so it would most likely be property of the Combine. Regardless, after the fact, they'll take away your family, they'll take your children, they'll take your wives and your husbands. They'll take you. Your living space will be ransacked, and anyone who refuses to comply will be beaten into submission. As Gordon makes his way through the flats, he sees the process of civil protection breaking in, taking people from their homes. Anti-citizens. These brutal and relentless raids allow for the Combine to keep the population oppressed. The people cannot join together and fight back. They cannot live in peace, and they will be too scared to organize any kind of protest.
This is how it always starts. First the building, then the whole block. They have no reason to come to our place. Don't worry, they'll find one.
Civil protection is determined on ravaging the home of every citizen if they can. And if they can't, they'll find a way. The people of the city are miserable. Their spirits have been absolutely crushed by the Combine. Television, as humanity used to know it, has ceased to exist. There's no more news, no more entertainment, and no more opposing political views. What's left, the only thing that is left, is a constant televised feed of Breen and his speeches. Opposing views are not only not being represented, but are also actively suppressed. Part of the process of establishing a totalitarian government is preventing the population from realizing that they're oppressed. The first generation to experience totalitarianism is significantly more difficult to convert than their children will be, because the first generation will be aware of the oppression, since they've already experienced freedom at an earlier point in their lives. They have a point of reference. Every generation after will have no idea what is being taken away from them. Opinions and feelings will be planted into them from a young age. Of each year that passes, the average citizen will be molded into what the state wishes for them to be. A citizen who does not rebel. A citizen who does what they are told. The perfect citizen. The very ability to think and feel is slowly erased over time. The citizens know that they're powerless to do anything about what others choose to do. They can try to fight back, but they cannot prevent people from joining the Combine. Even in the most dire of times, human greed and corruption knows no bounds. It transcends extraterrestrial beings, and it goes beyond suffering. Humans have capacity for wonderful things, but the capacity for sin and hate is clearly omnipresent. Great fire and brimstone await. This goes to show that even though a lot of civilians signed up for civil protection because they felt they had no other choice, a lot of people did it simply because of the power. When opportunity presents itself, opportunistic people also present themselves.
I can't take it anymore.
Everything's gonna be okay.
What are we going to do?
We'll think of something.
Attention, residents.
Gordon is found by civil protection and the chase begins.
Assemble
Get in here,
your
quick!
designated
Keep moving! Head for the roof!
Dr. Freeman, I presume.
Attention,
You better hurry. The Combine can be slow to wake, but once they're up, you don't want to get in their way. Dr. Kleiner said you'd be coming this way. I don't think it occurred to him that you might not have a map. I'm Alex Vance. My father worked with you back in Black Mesa. I'm sure you don't remember me, though. Man, a few words, aren't you?
Alex Vance. She's the daughter of Eli Vance, an old associate of Gordon back during his time in Black Mesa, and carries his demeanor to the fullest extent.
Remember him from Black Mesa? Your old administrator. Don't get my dad started on Dr. Breen.
With Breen's help, the Combine has gained knowledge of humanity's weaknesses, what works and what doesn't. The Combine knows exactly when and where they need to place their eyes and ears for maximum effectiveness. Breen's direct connections with Black Mesa meant that after the inevitable occurrence of the Resonance Cascade, he held more bargaining power and leverage than others during negotiations with the Combine. He could be entrusted, he could be puppeteered, he could be controlled. The Combine gave him everything he could want in a scenario as bleak as this, and even though he was under their rule, he was in a much better position than the rest. Regardless, the will of Damocles lives on in the form of a gun pointed to the back of Breen's head. If he ever strays from a path that has been chosen for him, he will be replaced with someone who is twice as subservient and 10 times less critical. This process will repeat and repeat until the perfect mouthpiece has been given form. Combine is an oppressive, totalitarian regime, but Dr. Breen repeatedly uses the term our benefactors to refer to them in an almost endearing way, as if they're helping humanity through their charitable actions. The very language itself is being manipulated in order to twist and control the reality inside someone's mind. Breen is attempting to manipulate people through countless small actions like this, which allow him to brainwash the population. He's effectively been made sponsor by the Combine. This form of newspeak forgoes harsh, unfavorable language that presents the Combine in a negative light. Anti-Combine words have been replaced with a more palatable alternative. People are no longer resistance fighters, they're now anti-citizens. Anti-citizens are no longer tortured and killed. They are now instead pacified and treated due to them being malignant. These terms are being used to make people fighting for their lives and freedom seem like a disease that needs to be eradicated. A disease that is hindering the Combine, who are supposedly the doctors trying to save humanity. Through this continuous and perpetual process of erosion of words, the English language as we know it will cease to be. Combine soldiers have already implemented this within their speech when interacting with each other and other Overwatch units, which is the name given to the military division of the Combine. This includes the Overwatch AI, which is an artificial intelligence that comes from inside the Combine headquarters. It is brutal, without mercy. It has been made to master the art of newspeak and pass it down to ground level Overwatch units, such as the Silk Protection Division. Alternatives for words are slowly yet surely being replaced and simplified. Excellent, exceptional, great, marvelous, and commendable no longer exist. There is only good. Adjectives are annihilated. Verbs are destroyed. Adverbs are erased. When soldiers are trained to think in this way, they lose the ability to think for themselves. All they know, all they can know, is the orders the Overwatch gives them. Thought crime. The ability to think negatively of the Combine is taken away. Old speak is replaced, and the new system does not give soldiers the option to think in extremes. When options A and C are taken away, all you have left is option B. The option that forces you to simply accept what is there. No more, no less.
Blast that little... Where did she get to? Lamar! Come out of there!
Uh-oh, everything all right, Dr. Kleiner?
Oh, hello, Alex. Well, almost all right. Lamar has gotten out of her crate again. If I didn't know better, I'd suspect Barney of trapping and... My goodness. Gordon Freeman. It really is you, isn't it?
I found him wandering around outside. Bit of a troublemaker, isn't he?
We owe a great deal to Dr. Freeman, even if trouble does tend to follow in his wake. I must say, Gordon, you come at a very opportune time. Alex has just installed the final piece for our resurrected teleport.
I can't take any credit for the breakthrough, Doctor.
Nonsense. Your talents surpass your loveliness.
Let's just see if this thing works, okay?
Well, is he here? There you are. Man, Gordon, you stirred up the hive.
Dr. Kleiner has managed to construct a functioning teleporter. one that would, theoretically, be able to transport Gordon and Alex to Eli's lab instantaneously. This would completely remove the need to have to sneak past Overwatch soldiers.
Doc, since he's not taking the streets, you might as well get him out of his civvies.
What? Oh dear, you're right. I almost forgot. Barney, I'll give you the honor.
I've got to get back on my shift, but okay.
Well, Gordon, go ahead. Slip into your suit now.
Gordon's suit. An upgrade from the one he used in the Black Mesa incident. The G-Man originally allowed him to keep it, but the situation has changed over 20 years, and Dr. Kleiner has made him a new one. One that reminds Gordon of his time in Black Mesa. It even has the Lambda logo on it, like the original one. The symbol, which is used in Science and Maths, has always been a key visual part in terms of the suit's identity. The Lambda symbol has actually become a symbol that's used by the Resistance in order to represent hope for humanity's future. It was taken from Gordon's suit and was made to essentially serve as his emblem. A sign for a brighter tomorrow. A sign for a better tomorrow. Hundreds perished during the Black Mesa incident, most of them innocent. Even the soldiers that were there to kill Gordon and the rest of the science team in order to get rid of witnesses were killed themselves. All of this having been spawned by a single Zen crystal being too much to handle for Black Mesa's equipment. Because Barney is essentially working as a double agent, he's able to work with Dr. Kleiner and Dr. Vance in order to gain more information about the Combine. The amount of information he knows can therefore give to Kleiner is limited, because Barney is a fairly low-level civil protection unit, rather than something more respected amongst the Overwatch ranks, such as the standard Overwatch soldiers, which are indicated by the insignia that brands them. Unlike civil protection, who are only really meant to maintain order and enforce the law amongst citizens, Overwatch soldiers are sent out to dispose of more serious threats and generally far more dangerous. Whilst civil protection usually only gets access to easily produced weapons such as stun sticks and pistols, Overwatch soldiers typically get to boast much more serious firepower, namely shotguns and MP7s, and, unlike civil protection, Overwatch soldiers are physically modified. They are forced to undergo extensive surgery, including getting a device installed into their head which allows for superior radio communication. Overwatch soldiers have literally been melded to their suits. Underneath all that armor, they would be unrecognizable, no longer human. These modifications also allow for the Overwatch AI to wirelessly send physical and mental messages to soldiers, including being able to kill them instantly by simply sending a signal. The most common way to become an Overwatch soldier is to first become civil protection, and then, once you're deemed worthy of a promotion, your humanity will be ripped away from you and you'll become a slave to the Combine. The elite level Overwatch soldiers have been physically melded into their suits, much like regular Overwatch soldiers, only more extreme. donning white protective armor, and weaponry capable of physically disintegrating their victims. Their voices are even more distorted than that of SIL protection units, and their helmets only possess one large circular screen through which they look through, meaning that the inside is so contorted, so twisted that underneath the armor, they don't even resemble humans anymore.
Isaac, are you there?
Yes, Eli. Bit of a hold-up on this end. You'll never guess who found his way into our lab this morning.
That's not who I think it is it?
Indeed it is, and it's our intention to send him packing straight away in the company of your lovely daughter.
Are you ready for us, Dad?
You're all set on this end.
Then let's do it.
Initializing in 3, 2, 1. Barney, if you'd be so kind.
Good luck out there, Gordon.
Yes, indeed. We're ready to project you, Gordon. Bon voyage, and best of luck in your future endeavors. Final sequence. What the hell? What is it?
It's your head, the freaking head helper!
Car, Eddie,
Look out!
What's the meaning of this? Who are you? How did you get in here?
He's coming through, Dad.
What's going on?
I'm not sure. It seems to be some kind of interference.
Gordon, stay put. We'll get you out of there.
Something is drawing him away.
The man I saw, I'm all but certain it was Gordon Freeman.
He's not there.
He didn't come through.
Then where is he?
Behind you. Shut it down. Shut it down.
Gordon, you must get out of here! Run! Down out of sight. I'll come find you. The Citadel's on full alert. I've never seen it lit up like that.
The beating heart of the Combine keeps repeating the same rhythm. The rhythm that allows him to control those that they enslave. The beating heart of the Citadel. The Citadel is the base of operations for the Combine. At least it is on Earth. Who knows how many equivalents exist in other universes. Every building is interlinked, and information is constantly being pumped through the horrid wires which connect to it. The veins and arteries which contain information that the Combine will use to further emphasize their grip of control. One of the most horrid and unnerving features of the Citadel is the sheer size and strength of it. Its seemingly impenetrable defenses would likely crush the hopes and spirits of people hoping to win against the Combine and the Citadel. The Citadel is so incomprehensibly massive that it's able to be seen from anywhere in City 17, where it's located. In fact, it's so massive that you're not able to see all of it due to the clouds blocking it. One can only imagine what atrocities lay dormant within. It's even more formidable than an island fortress that Gordon first had to encounter all those years ago.
Get out of City 17 as fast as you can, Gordon. Take the old canals, right? They'll get you to Eli's lab. It's a dangerous route, but there's a whole network of refugees, and they'll help you if they can. I'd come with you, but I gotta look after Dr. Kleiner. Oh, and before I forget, I think you dropped this back in Black Mesa. Good luck out there, buddy. You're gonna need it.
Mass surveillance and mass control has been implemented on an unimaginable scale. Creations that are beyond human conceptualization, creatures that have been made possible with the seemingly infinite number of resources that are available at the Combine's disposal. There are countless cameras placed everywhere, a lot of them stationary, a lot of them specifically engineered to detect, track, and photograph suspicious activity. Point is, the Combine is now more than likely aware of Gordon's presence. Every wrong move, every improper breath, and every incorrect thought will be made known to the regime. The Combine is attempting to surpass simply having mass knowledge of every citizen. They are attempting to achieve complete and total omniscience over the population. They are attempting to forge a planet in which the citizens will never rebel. Not because they don't want to, but rather because they know that it is a fruitless endeavor in which even thinking about going against the Combine will cause you to become an un-person. The Combine has set up checkpoints across every corner of every street, in which unauthorized citizens are blocked from proceeding. Civilians who have volunteered have been promoted into civil protection units, in which they give up what makes them human in order to enjoy the perks that come with joining the Combine, such as having access to more comfortable housing and more food. It becomes more difficult to blame them when the life they live is this bleak. However, they have still ultimately betrayed not only their fellow humans, but also their humanity. They serve as but a single part of the Overwatch, not a greater whole. With exceptional service and behavior, some civil protection units have been promoted into Overwatch soldiers, and beyond. You lose more of your humanity the higher your rank is. Civil protection units can be heard using voice comms, and although their voices are distorted, they still sound somewhat recognizable. However, this gets worse the higher your rank is. Gordon has nowhere near the power resources necessary to fight back against the Combine. For now, he just needs to worry about making out alive. The only reason he was able to get aboard the train heading for City 17 is because the G-Man specifically placed him there. Gordon Freeman is the right man in the wrong place. A single, well-timed moment might just be enough to make all the difference in the world. As long as the right man is set on the right path, then the rest will be seen to by itself. Large nudges in the timeline will create mountains and valleys. Smaller, seemingly insignificant nudges will instead maintain stability whilst changing the end result. One of the most significant and emblematic signs of the Combine's power is shown for some of the species. The Vortigons are back, no longer bound by chains and shackles, and yet they no longer pose a threat to Gordon. One of the most formidable and dangerous species that Gordon had to face during the Black Mesa incident is now cowering in fear of the Combine. They have now become allies. Even though Gordon killed many Vortigons in his fight for survival, the death of Nyland ultimately freed the Vortigons from slavery. The original homeworld of the Vortigons was invaded by the Combine, and they had to flee. The Nyland became their slaver, and when the Resonance Cascade occurred, portals across the Zen started appearing, in which they were directed by the creature to invade Earth. The 20 years since the demise of Nyland, the legend of the Freeman has spread, and he is viewed as a hero by the Vortigons. The man who freed them, the one true free man. No longer a name, now a title. The Vortigons are coterminous, not just a hive mind, but a hive mind that surpasses space and time. Every Vortigon across every point in time and space exists simultaneously. These shared thoughts and memories mean that every Vortigon is aware of the Resonance Cascade, the Nylanth, and now the Freeman. The way to Eli's lab is through the root canals. The canals are being essentially guarded by a hunter chopper, a modified Combine helicopter built for killing. The hunter chopper is capable of dropping down naval mines. In other words, Gordon needs to use an airboat in order to get past all the water.
Hey, Dr. Freeman. I've been hoping you'd show up. Got this airboat all gassed up and ready to go. gonna be tough dodging civil protection out there in the open, but drive hard and you'll make it. You'll find more help up at Station 7. Just a few bends up the river. It's the old red barn. Climb on in. Fire her up. Go ahead and get in the boat, Dr. Freeman.
The canals are a haphazard connection of lakes and tunnels. A lot of it toxic, most of it dangerous. This area is swarming with not just civil protection and the Overwatch, but also fucking tanks. Holy shit, look at this. Look at it! After the defeat of the Hunter Chopper, and Gordon catches a glimpse of a facility off in the distance. There's a ladder with the lambda symbol painted next to it, which means that Gordon has presumably made it to Black Mesa East.
We've got something. Okay, it's human. Hello? Take it easy in there. You're safe now. You'll have to forgive the scanning process. We can't take any chances. Dr. Freeman? Gordon Freeman? Is that you? You've made it here this quickly. Well, Eli is going to be amazed, not to mention relieved. I'm Dr. Mossman, Dr. Judith Mossman. I've been hearing about you since long before the Black Mesa incident. Oh, Black Mesa. I do so envy you working with Eli and Dr. Kleiner when they were at the top of their field. Ah, there we go. You can come through now. Eli, look who I found in the airlock.
Gordon Freeman. Let me get a look at you, man. My God, you haven't changed one iota. How do you do it? Now let's see. The last time I saw you, I sent you up for help after the resonance cascade. I never thought it would take you this long to get back to me. Welcome to the lab anyway. It's not Black Mesa, but it served us well enough.
Both Eli and Kleiner have been touched by the sands of time, whilst his colleagues have all aged significantly. And Gordon hasn't changed one iota, meaning that being placed into stasis by the G-Man prevented him from being physically impacted by aging or even time itself. However, during the time that Gordon spent in stasis, Eli and the others spent building, rebuilding, and forming their own lab. Named in honor of Black Mesa East is used by Eli and his team to conduct experiments and hopefully discover ways in which they can fight back against, or at the very least, resist the Combine. One of these ways was the aforementioned teleporter. Black Mesa East has also developed another project that is rather helpful, the gravity gun, also known as...
The zero-point energy field manipulator is not a toy, Alex.
Ugh, let's get out of here. That's the old passage to Ravenholm. We don't go there anymore. This is a gravity gun my father was talking about. You can call it the zero-point energy field manipulator if you really want to. It's designed for handling hazardous materials, but we mainly use it for heavy lifting. Give it a try. Now let me call Dog. He loves to play fetch. Dog! Come! Doggy. Gordon, this is Dog. My dad built him to protect me when I was a kid. First model was about yay high. I've been adding to him ever since. Haven't I, boy? Dog? Oh my God, what was that? Scanners! Oh, Combine sweeping the area! We've got to head back to the lab. Come on, Gordon! Do you read?
Alex, honey.
What's going on in there?
Where are are you, Alex?
We're in the scrapyard airlock, stuck in a full autocycle.
Is Gordon still with you?
He's right here.
Good. I want you to...
Dad?
Take Gordon out of here. Head for the coast. Do not go through Raven...
Dad? Dad! Damn it! Dog, open the airlock. Get us out of here. Hurry, now! Tear it apart. Get it open. That's enough, dog. Come on, Gordon. Come on! Gordon, you need to get out of here. I can't leave my father. Dog, take Gordon to the Ravenholm tunnel and circle around and try to meet up with me. Hurry!
With Alex leaving to save her father, Gordon has been forced to go through Ravenholm by himself, now equipped with a gravity gun. It's unknown how dangerous Ravenholm actually is, but its reputation clearly precedes it. Given Eli's request to not send Gordon through it, and Alex's hesitation in sending Gordon through it regardless, even as a highly qualified professional, speaks volumes. Dusk and dust, grime, trepidation. This is no mere town. This is a town of unimaginable, indescribable horrors. The area is overrun with headcrabs, and it's turned the place into nothing short of an apocalyptic hellhole. Headcrabs are able to attach themselves to a person and leech off of them. The thing is that headcrabs are parasites. Parasites do not kill a host body. They only take control of it and override it. The person that a headcrab takes over is still technically alive. They still feel every single bit of pain inflicted on them. They're just unable to do anything about it. Every time Gordon has to kill a headcrab zombie in order to survive, he's not just killing the headcrab, he's killing the person that once was. They can feel their skin burning, melting to a crisp. They fully sense the fire and brimstone consuming them, unable to do anything to stop it. What they do, the only thing they can do, is cry out for God.
God, help me!
Someone who seems to be a priest also seems to be cleansing Ravenholm of zombies, Father Grigori.
What? Who is this? Another life to save? I'll keep my eye on you. More than that, I cannot promise.
He's the only known survivor of Ravenholm's infestation of headcrabs. Armed with what seems to be a rifle, he's taken it upon himself in aiding the undead in moving on to the afterlife. One could perhaps make the argument that Father Grigori is slightly mentally unhinged. This man has single-handedly rigged the entirety of Ravenholm with traps. He very kindly gives Gordon permission to use the traps in order to not only defend himself, but also get rid of zombies along the way. Father Grigori is nothing short of an artist. The world is his canvas, zombies are his paint, and his brush is his rifle. The contrast between the sheer, relentless brutality of Ravenholm compared to Grigori's cheerful and excited demeanor makes him one of the most interesting and enigmatic characters. He seems to be fairly happy, which is far more than what can be said about a lot of the people living in City 17. It never looks like he's suffering. Rather, it looks as though he's thriving within this type of environment. he essentially gets to be the ruler of his own domain. Even though Ravenholm has elements of modern day luxuries, such as parts of it being reminiscent of something resembling an industrial sector, it is nothing like the technology that Gordon has seen in City 17, or even in Eli's lab for that matter. The atmosphere of Ravenholm is much closer to something of that of the Victorian era. There's a strange feeling that Jack the Ripper might come around the corner at any time. Even the way out of Ravenholm seems to be ridden with toxic creatures, headcrabs, and explosives. The exit path out of Ravenholm is in rubble, complete and utter disarray. No one's been maintaining it because no one dares go near it. The wooden planks have become weak and fragile. They crack and fall apart at every turn. The very walls themselves have eroded. All that remains is a crude mockery of safety regulations. Grigori even seems to have put one last trap here for good measure. In order to get to the next area, Gordon needs to traverse the desert wasteland riddled with antlions. You can't exactly walk across a mutant-infested wasteland per se, so Gordon uses a buggy. The Minge-mobile comes equipped with a Tau cannon, the exact type of Tau cannon that he originally used back during the Black Mesa incident. Once the Pimp-mobile builds up enough speed, it becomes bowling with extra steps. Not to mention, the Tau cannon, unlike its Black Mesa variant, has unlimited ammo, and Gordon is able to charge up each individual shot for devastating power. Throughout the coast, the Combine and the Antlions are battling for dominance over the region. Overwatch units obviously have access to far more advanced technology, but the Antlions also have a home turf advantage, and an advantage in the sheer, seemingly endless numbers. The coast has essentially become a battleground that hosts a war between nature and machine. The Combine has set up many earthquake generators on the land, which are causing ground tremors. The ground tremors act as the world's most advanced bug repellent. They're usually next to safe houses that Overwatch soldiers have laid claim to, and it allows them to camp out on the coast whilst they wait for Freeman or other anti-citizens to pass through. From what it seems, normal people used to live here at some point, long ago. There seems to be fallen villages along the coast that were taken over by Combine rule. Except one.
We're expecting gunships at any moment. Colonel Cubbage will be glad to see you made it. This steerable rocket launcher is our best bet for taking down a gunship. Ah, hello. I'll be right with you. Now, where was I? Ah, yes. Using the laser guide, you can steer your rocket past the gunship's defenses and prevent it from shooting down your rocket. This will only anger it at first, but if you can survive long enough to make several direct hits, you'll be rewarded with a prize worthy of any mantelpiece. Now, who's going to be the lucky one to carry it into combat? Ah, yes, Gordon Freeman. I couldn't have asked for a finer volunteer. Colonel Odessa Cubbage at your service.
Cubbage is a bit of a strange fellow. The settlement is named after him, New Little Odessa. He seems to know Eli, but something about him just seems slightly off. That's right, he's British. It's curious to see how there's resistance groups powerful enough to fight back against other groups of combined forces. Most instances of rebel groups that Gordon has seen so far have absolutely no chance of winning, only surviving if they're lucky. It might be because this is slightly more uncharted territory for the Combine. Parts of it have been fully occupied, sure, but there are other parts where it's considered too much of a hassle to build anything there for the Combine. The constant swarms of antlions make it too much of a pain. After leaving New Little Odessa, Gordon has to make his way through Highway 17, the very same Highway 17 which has been completely taken over by Overwatch forces. No longer tiny outposts and sometimes villages, but now entire towns that are swarming with creatures capable of enacting pure destruction. These towns, which were once important stopping places for travelers, have now become locations for lethal border guards. No one in or out, and anyone who tries to go against that is shot. Highway 17 features some of the most amazing set pieces. Anything and everything from towns infiltrated with Overwatch soldiers to makeshift racetracks to breathtaking scenery. Highway 17 is one of the most atmospheric locations. A friendly Vortigaunt has given Gordon access to bug bait, a tool which allows Gordon to befriend antlions and make them bend to his will. Nova Prospect, the madhouse of horrors. Past screams of past victims echo through this accursed dungeon. Once you're in here, you've truly lost all hope. No one can help you. No one is coming to save you. This is where Eli Vance is currently trapped. However, from Gordon's antlion army, he may just have a chance of being able to rescue him. Before even being able to go anywhere near Nova Prospect, Gordon has to storm through a wave of different outposts and disable all the earthquake generators in order to allow the antlions to pass through. The different outposts are equipped with multiple Overwatch soldiers, resources, protection and artillery capable of taking out entire squads within seconds. This is where the antlions come in. Gordon has essentially gained access to an unlimited supply of living test dummies that will do the work for him. He can send in his minions to absorb the bullets for him and do some damage at the same time. Great detail about this is how the Overwatch is somehow surprised at this.
Warning, primary target is engaged in command and control tactics with biotics. Repeat, primary target has tactical CNC of biotics.
Since you can't exactly just waltz into the most dangerous prison on the planet, Gordon will have to take an alternative route. Not that he's unfamiliar with doing so. He certainly had to face much worse and more unsanitary conditions before. Whilst crawling through the sewers, Gordon takes note of the different positions of the different guards, strengths, weaknesses, everything and anything he could use to gain leverage over the Combine army. He needs to if he wants to live. The onslaught begins. Gordon's name starts spreading across the Overwatch force. His name is known. He is feared. He's recognized on the radio as an anti-citizen Freeman, seemingly a myth, in reality a legend. The man who single-handedly took down entire squads, no, armies of Marines and aliens back in Black Mesa. Nova Prospect is a claustrophobic fight for survival. Most of this prison only offers a limited amount of space, just enough to allow Gordon to be able to move through, but not quite enough to allow for firefights at a comfortable distance. Gordon's past experiences have allowed him to learn and adapt, so he's more prepared to take on Nova Prospect, at least compared to the average person. According to Alex, Nova Prospect used to be a high security prison that was transformed into something much worse. Containment and correction of anti-citizens. This is what would happen if Room 101 was the entire torture estate. Over the radio, you can hear the Overwatch AI telling Overwatch soldiers to kill a political prisoner. Only, they're not referred to as a prisoner, and it's not referred to as killing.
Attention Nova Prospect internal containment teams. Deservice all political conscripts in Block A7. Prohibit external contact.
One of these political conscripts is a Vortigaunt that was being tortured for who knows how long and was then finally put to death, likely because they didn't want it to potentially give any useful information to Freeman. The fourth crime. The Combine will stop at nothing to enact their will. Earth is but a single number amongst countless others. They have perfected the method of capture and containment. They use a massive number of military units to overwhelm a planet's defenses. And once it's been claimed as theirs, they use the absolute minimum amount of resources necessary to maintain uncontested control over the planet. From there, they execute complete and total mind control over the citizens. Their values are slowly retaught. They learn to embrace the Combine, or, as Breen puts it, our benefactors. In Earth's case, Dr. Breen was intended to be used to make the Combine seem more human. Big brother. Dr. Breen is here for you. Dr. Breen is here to protect you. Dr. Breen is here to care for you from the cradle to the grave. When there's a face behind the regime seems a lot more human. This makes it far easier to implant ideas within the people. The people are led to believe that there is nothing to fear. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. These ideals are inserted into the brain of every citizen. Whilst they acknowledge that they are slaves to a higher force, they learn to not only embrace it, but also admire it. Propaganda is ejected every minute of every hour of every day around every corner of every street. From here, the Combine has achieved full domination of our planet. Rebellions become a near impossibility due to its citizens being brainwashed. This process is repeated until the Combine has conquered every galaxy, until every star has become part of their dominion. Nova Prospect, the House of Hell, is where rebellious anti-citizens are morphed into a shadow of their former selves. If they're not outright tortured to death, they emerge with their minds fully broken. They have learned to love the Combine, totalitarian to the very core. Gordon's continuous venture into Nova Prospect reveals more and more advanced and alarming machinery. The first few blocks that he passes through aren't well maintained, as the infrastructure isn't too useful to the Combine, but they still place guards there in an event like this. Machine guns and turrets swarm the halls. Death by devastation. The Freeman is only a man after all, and Overwatch is hoping that at some point the swarm of bullets heading his way will be enough to finally stop him.
I have been asked to say a few words to the transhuman arm of Sector 17 Overwatch concerning recent successes in containing members of the Resistance science team. Let me say up front that I regret having to temper my heartfelt congratulations with a strong measure of disappointment. How could one man have slipped through your force's fingers, time and time again? How is it possible? This is not some agent provocateur or highly trained assassin we are discussing. Gordon Freeman is a theoretical physicist who had hardly earned the distinction of his PhD at the time of the Black Mesa incident. I have good reason to believe that in the intervening years he was in a state that precluded further development of covert skills. The man you have consistently failed to slow, let alone capture, is by all standards simply that, an ordinary man. How can you have failed to apprehend him? Well, I will leave the upbraiding for another time to the extent it proves necessary. Now is the moment to redeem yourselves. If the transhuman forces are to prove themselves an indispensable augmentation to the Combine Overwatch, they will have to earn the privilege.
Breen's mad ramblings of Gordon are becoming increasingly exasperated. He's no longer just frustrated with the citizens, he's now also frustrated with the Overwatch itself. His ego has blinded him to the point where he thinks that he holds any power over the Combine whatsoever, when, in reality, they can easily betray him when he stops being useful to them. This is not the case. He is but a puppet to them. After going through hell and back, Gordon manages to reunite with Alex as she manages to discover a way to find her dad.
I'm glad you made it here in one piece. My dad's up there somewhere, in that holding area. It's gonna take some doing to get him out. All right. Let me see if I can get this open.
Alex, Gordon, is that really you? I can't believe you found me.
Dad, are you all right?
I'm fine, but you've got to get out of here.
We're here to get you out, Dad.
Never mind me. Save yourselves.
No, we're not leaving you. I think I can recalibrate the Combine portal to get us out of here.
But where will you go?
I talked to Dr. Kleiner. His portal was almost working again. If he's managed to repair it, we'll end up there. If he hasn't, well, we couldn't be any worse off.
It's not worth the risk, Alex. I can't lose you. Get out while you can.
We're not leaving here without you. That's final.
We can't leave Judith here either.
Don't worry, Dad. We'll find her. For now, I'm going to send you to the teleport chamber. I'm not saying goodbye, Dad. We'll meet you there.
I know you will. I'll see you there, baby.
Unexpectedly, Alex and Gordon find Dr. Judith Mossman.
Wait a minute. How'd she...
It's from your area.
I'm not calling about that.
What's she up to?
You promised you weren't going to touch Eli.
Oh my
The
God.
soldiers were a bit overzealous, I admit, but he was too tempting a prize to simply turn loose, especially in the absence of Gordon Freeman.
You would have had Freeman if you'd been patient and just waited for my signal.
We weren't entirely sure you were ever going to get around to that. Human loyalties being what they are.
Dr. As I have stated before, you have to let Eli come around on his own.
I
You
have
can't
known Dr. Vance far longer than you, my dear. I'm afraid your feelings for him may have blinded you.
Feelings? This has nothing to do with feelings. It's a simple truth that when Eli believes
This
our...
is not open to debate, Dr. Mossman.
Doctor, please.
So sorry, Judith. I'm all out of time.
Damn her! I don't believe this! Come on, Gordon. Now we've really got to hurry.
Hello? Oh, thank God someone... Alex? Gordon, how did you get in here?
We know all about you and Breen.
What?
You've been a spy for the Combine the whole time.
What are you talking about?
Damn it! Move back, Mossman. We're coming in.
Alex, whatever you may think, I assure you, I have worked to protect your father.
Shut up and be glad you're still some use to us. We're going to reconfigure this teleport and get the hell out of here.
You see, we're working to the same end. I've already reprogrammed the modulator to emulate it.
Even though Alex is furious with Dr. Mossman, they have to work together for now to restore the teleporter so they can make it back safely.
Dad, down here. Sorry we took so long. I hope that wasn't too bad for you.
Don't worry about me, sweetheart. Judith! I see they set you free.
Not exactly.
Eli! I was so worried about you.
The coordinates, Dr. Mossman.
So, this is the Combine.
Hold on, gotta bring this back down. No! Stop! What are you doing?
I'm sorry, Alex. It's the only
No!
way.
Get back!
What's going on,
Dad!
Alex? Judith!
No!
What's happening?
Alright, let me think, Alex, think. Dr. Kleiner, you have to stop them!
Stop, my dear.
Oh my God! What coordinates are these? Where the hell did she take him? No. Cover me, Gordon. I've got to reset the portal.
Overwatch soldiers are trying to get in and will break down the doors at any moment. After Mossman seemingly betrays Alex and Gordon fights off Overwatch soldiers while Alex reboots the teleporter. Hell and gunfire rain down upon both of them, and Gordon manages to fight them back just enough in order to allow for both of them to make it through to the other side.
I await your arrival with great anticipation.
Come on, Gordon! Get in! Hold on! My God, we made it. But where's Dr. Kleiner? Dr. Kleiner, let us out!
Alex? Gordon? My God, how did you get here? And when?
What's wrong?
My dear, I had given up hope of ever seeing you again.
I was afraid we might not make it either. I think the teleport exploded just as we were porting out.
Indeed it did, and the repercussions were felt far and wide, but that was over a week ago.
What do you mean? Gordon and I were just there a minute ago.
Fascinating.
An entire week has seemingly passed in mere moments. However, it's worked out in their favour, as them teleporting away has led to the very timely demise of Nova Prospekt, seemingly causing some sort of explosion. The civilians and rebels took this as a signal for war, a signal for an uprising. For the last week that Gordon and Alex spent outside of time itself, a war has been ensuing between humanity and the Combine. Except this time, humanity isn't losing. City 17 is in shambles, and it's time for Gordon to finish it off. Gordon Freeman is an enemy of the state. Gordon's continuous presence has increasingly become more and more of a risk to the Combine. Whilst communicating with each other over the radio, the Overwatch go from simply referring to Gordon by his name to referring to him as Anti-Citizen 1. The one free man who is the single biggest threat to the rule of the Combine. But make no mistake, the only reason Gordon and the Resistance even have a chance of beating the Combine's invasion of Earth is not because the Combine somehow lacks power, but rather because after the 7-hour war, the Combine only left enough Overwatch units to maintain order, the bare minimum amount of resources needed to keep the population under the thumb of the state. Even though the Combine has countermeasures set up in place, they never expected humanity to be able to fight back to this extent. The virus that never ceases. He gazed up at the enormous face. 20 years it had taken him to learn what kind of smile was hidden beneath the white mustache. Oh, cruel, needless misunderstanding. Oh, stubborn, self-willed exile from the loving breast. 2 gin-scented tears trickled down the sides of his nose. But it was alright. Everything was alright. The struggle was finished. He had won the victory over himself. He loved Dr. Breen. Gordon Freeman is seen as some sort of messiah, the hero of Black Mesa. Against all odds, he's the man who survived the Resonance Cascade and killed the Nihilith. Back in Black Mesa, when Gordon had to go for a teleporter in order to go to Zen, the scientists didn't give him a way back. The only reason that Gordon survived the death of Nihilith is because of the G-Man placing him into stasis. When Gordon Freeman was transported to Zen, no one, probably including himself, was expecting him to come back. He was essentially assumed dead for 2 decades. Obviously everyone was surprised when he suddenly showed up at City 17.
Hey, dog! Not there! You can't get through that way! Well, I'll be damned. I think he wants you to go through, Gordon. You'd better hurry. And if you see Dr. Breen, tell him I said...
Gordon has finally breached the Citadel. He dodges and weaves the different bits of machinery. The inside of the Citadel reveals the horrors that lay beneath, or rather, above. The Citadel is the Earth's largest factory line of... anything. In this case, Overwatch combat units.
Unregistered weapons detected. Confiscation field engaged. Warning. Counter-resonance singularity device detected. Confiscation field. Security alert. Illegal counter-resonance singularity device detected.
Whilst the rest of Gordon's arsenal was erased from existence, the gravity gun caused malfunction, almost like an overclock. The gravity gun has become supercharged. Gordon has entered one last elevator ride, one last time. He sees even more of the scale of operations of the Combine and how creatures operate within the Citadel. Dropships and gunships fly out of the Citadel and exit the building at an impossible scale. conveyor belts which carry abominable creatures on them. The ride starts going directly up and outside. He sees just how high the citadel reaches, right up to the very skies themselves. Towns and cities are so far away that they start looking like mere dots in the distance as the ride goes higher and higher, directly into Dr. Breen's office.
I'll take him from here. Don't struggle. It's no use. Until you're where he wants you, there's nothing you can do. I'm sorry, Gordon.
Carbon stars with ancient satellites colonized by sentient Fuji. Gas giants inhabited by vast meteorological intelligences. Worlds stretched thin across the membranes where the dimensions intersect. Impossible to describe with our limited vocabulary.
What I've seen is also beyond words, Breen. Genocide. Indescribable evil. Good God.
Well, if it isn't Gordon Freeman at last. You have my gratitude, Doctor. First you lead me straight to the doorstep of my oldest friend, and then you deliver yourself? If I'd known you were going to come straight up to my office, I wouldn't have bothered hunting you in the first place. Having both of you in my keeping ensures I can dictate the terms of any bargain I care to make with the Combine.
Dr. Breen.
Huh.
Wallace.
Yes, Judith, what is it?
The bargain we should be making is for Eli's life so he can continue his research.
Thanks to you, we have everything we need in that regard. You're more than qualified to finish his research yourself. What neither you nor I can do is convince that rabble in the streets to give up their senseless struggle. Yet Eli refuses to speak the words that would save them all.
Save them? For what?
Eli, if you won't do the right thing for the good of all people, maybe you'll do it for one of them.
Alex, honey.
Dad. Gordon?
God damn you, Breen, you let her go.
That's all up to you, my old friend. Will you let your stubborn short-sightedness doom the entire species, or will you give your child the chance her mother never had?
How dare you even mention her?
Alex, my dear, you have your mother's eyes, but your father's stubborn nature.
You haven't seen a bit of it yet.
Really? Well, let's see how well it serves you on the far side of a Combine portal.
Go ahead, Breen. If that's the worst you can do, send us both through your portal.
Oh, it's hardly the worst. But you might find that hard to believe once you get there.
It isn't necessary.
I agree. It's a total waste. Fortunately, the Resistance has shown it is willing to accept a new leader. And this one has proven to be a fine pawn for those who control him.
No!
Don't listen to him, Gordon.
How about it, Dr. Freeman? Did you realize your contract was open to the highest bidder?
Gordon would never make any kind of deal with you.
I understand if you don't wish to discuss this in front of your friends. I'll send them on their way, and then we can talk openly.
Don't struggle, honey.
Dad, I'm so sorry.
Alex, sweetheart.
Judith, what do you think you're doing?
We're doing what I could never do alone. We're stopping you.
Yes.
Guards, get in here! They know you betrayed them. They'll turn on you. Judith, Dr. Mossman, please!
I'm sorry, Wallace. You're all out of time. Don't...
Hurry! Dad, hang on.
You fool!
Watch out, he's gonna...
No!
Dad!
Oh, no. Don't worry about me, honey.
There's no time, Alex. He's on his way to the portal. You'll need this.
Dr. Mossman, Judith, Look after my father.
Don't you worry.
Dad, I'm not saying goodbye.
Never.
Come on, Gordon. Let's go.
That's my girl.
Gordon, we haven't known each other very long, but I know you didn't have to do this. I had to rescue my father, but you... Well, thanks for coming after me.
It's me you should be concerned.
Hey, listen.
I can still deliver.
That's him.
But not without your help. The portal destination is untenable. Surely you can set the relay elsewhere. There's no way I can survive in that environment. A host body is joking. I can't possibly...
There he is.
Oh, all right. Damn it, but it takes. Just hurry. He's right behind me. Oh, shit.
Damn it! Not again! The gravity gun. He doesn't have a clue, does he? I wonder where he's going. Oh my god. This is the Citadel's dark fusion reactor. It powers their tunneling entanglement device. We'll never have a chance like this again. We've got to stop Dr. Breen. I can't shut it down. Looks like he's turned over control to the other side. You'll have to go into the core and do what you can. Get in the elevator and I'll let you in. Don't forget to charge up your suit. Do your worst, Gordon. But be careful.
Longer, I think. If only you had harnessed your boundless energy for a useful purpose. You could bring down this whole citadel. Think, man. Think of the people below. No!
Yeah! You did it! Come on, Gordon. We've got to get out of here. Maybe we still have...
Time, Dr. Freeman? Is it really that time again? It seems as if you only just arrived. You've done a great deal in a small time span. You've done so well, in fact, that I've received some interesting offers for your services. Ordinarily, I wouldn't contemplate them, but these are extraordinary times. Rather than offer you the illusion of free choice, I will take the liberty of choosing for you, if and when your time comes round again. I do apologize for what must seem to you an arbitrary imposition, Dr. Freeman. I trust it will all make sense to you in the course of... well, I'm really not at liberty to say. In the meantime, this is where I get off.
Fate is completely unchangeable. Gordon's fate was written long ago without him even knowing it. Possibly by the G-Man, most likely by the G-Man's employers. The G-Man is just simply the one enacting the will of his employers. The G-Man's employers don't need for the Combine as a whole off of Earth. They just needed the Citadel destroyed, and the moment that was achieved, Gordon was no longer needed and was placed back into stasis. A higher bidder came along. This is what the G-Man is all about. Deals. He's likely not even human. His vocal mannerisms are that of an alien trying to replicate human speech. He's an interdimensional bureaucrat. Similar to Black Mesa, he's once again constantly seen observing Gordon. speaking to key characters. Nudges. The G-Man is constantly making small nudges in the timeline to ensure that his investments follow the path that was set for them. Whatever unforeseen consequences that may or may not arrive is none of his concern. He simply needs to ensure that his employers are satisfied with their plans and investments. Gordon's existence is nothing more but a single agreement amongst an ocean of other deals. It's unknown how everything ties into the division of the G-Man and his employers, but it's likely that it was in their best interest for the Black Mesa incident to occur, and for the Combine to invade Earth, even though they would be considered an enemy. The Resonance Cascade scenario occurred due to an experiment involving a specific Zen crystal sample. The G-Man was most likely the one who arranged for that specific sample to be used at Black Mesa under the exact time and conditions necessary in order for the Resonance Cascade to occur. This might have been why Gordon was running late on that specific day. The G-Man is the master of time. He will place entities into anastasis at will. He is able to teleport entities and even manipulate the very reality itself. Not only this, but he seems to be doing it with such ease that he will construct and rearrange environments when speaking to someone just to prove a point. Gordon is the man that was chosen for the task. The right man in the wrong place, who is meant to enact the will of the G-Man's employers. The one free man. Lord have mercy on he who dares disobey Kronos, for they will face great wrath and hellfire.
Dr. Freeman.
The Vortigons are coterminous. What? Coterminous. What? Clerk! Even though Ravenholm has elements of modern day luxuries, such as elements of Shut the fuck up. Stop. He essentially gets to be the ruler of his own domain.